The Assembly of Worlds. The Galaxy Assembly hovered above a giant blue star, glowing like a sapphire sun in the endless dark. The station itself was the size of a small moon, shining with silver towers, floating walkways, and vast domes filled with every kind of atmosphere. Here, once every cycle, the most powerful species in the Milky Way met to make decisions that shaped entire civilizations. Inside the Grand Chamber, thousands of alien delegates filled the tiered seats. Some were covered in fur, others had scales, feathers, or even living crystals. Their languages buzzed through the air in waves of sound and light, translated instantly by neural relays. It was a place where empires argued, bargains were struck, and the fates of billions were decided. And among them, for only the second time in history, stood a small group from Earth. Humanity's delegation looked different. They had no fancy robes or mind-linked assistants, just clean navy blue uniforms, quiet confidence, and eyes that scanned the chamber with awe and purpose. At the front stood Ambassador Lena Cross, Earth's representative. She was tall, calm, and alert, with silver streaks in her black hair and a voice that could fill a room without shouting. She carried herself like a soldier, but spoke like a poet. She had seen war and peace both, on Earth and in the stars. As the chamber settled, a booming voice echoed from above. The next agenda, the Galactic Communications Spine Project. A hush fell. This was the project, the biggest one in centuries. A vast communication network to link every part of the galaxy, from the deep core civilizations to the edge of the spiral arms. Whoever won the bid to lead and build it would rise in power, influence, and status. It was more than a contract. It was a crown. Everyone expected the great powers to fight over it. The ancient Siraxi Empire, with their biomechanical fleets, the Veltar Combine, masters of light-speed logistics, and the Corinth hegemony, rich, cold, and calculating. No one expected humans to compete. "They'll never vote for us," whispered Lieutenant Raj, standing beside Lena. "We don't even have a full seat in the core council yet." Lena didn't look at him. Her eyes were on the center of the room, where each delegation would soon make their case. "We don't need them to expect us," she said softly. "We need them to hear us." Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 42 years. In a galaxy where some civilizations were millions of years old, humanity was barely a spark. Many species saw them as noisy, emotional, impatient, jumping from discovery to disaster and back again. But some saw something else. A species that had gone from horses to spaceflight in less than 300 years. That survived world wars, climate disasters, and the cold vacuum of space, and still reached out with curiosity. A species that never stopped trying, even when everything seemed lost. Lena remembered the first time she saw Earth from orbit. A blue and green marble, spinning quietly beneath her. Fragile, beautiful. She had made a promise that day. "If we get the chance to speak, we will not waste it." As the first empire took the stage, Siraxi, gleaming with synthetic armor and pulsing minds, Lena watched with calm intensity. Their plan was flawless. Efficient, powerful, but cold. One by one, others followed. Brilliant technology, ancient logic, elegant systems. When the announcer finally called, "Earth delegation," the chamber fell into a curious silence. Lena stood. She took a breath, adjusted her EarthGov badge, and walked to the center platform. As she stepped into the light, every eye, alien and artificial, turned to her, and she smiled. Not because she was confident in winning, but because for the first time, humanity had been heard, and that, in a galaxy of silence and control, was already the beginning of something greater. The impossible pitch. The chamber lights dimmed as Earth's emblem, a swirling blue globe wrapped in a beam of golden light, appeared in the center of the assembly hall. All around, alien eyes blinked, focused, or narrowed in suspicion. Ambassador Lena Cross stood alone on the speaking platform. No advisors, no drones, just a simple holographic tablet in her hand, glowing softly in the cool light. She looked out across the ocean of delegates. The Siraxi, tall and metallic, folded their limbs in boredom. The Corinth sat motionless behind masks of mirrored glass. A few minor species watched with polite curiosity. Most expected nothing. Some barely looked up. Lena felt the weight of their dismissal like cold air pressing on her chest. But she stood tall. "Members of the Assembly," she began, her voice smooth but strong. "I come to you not with promises of perfection, but with something I believe we all need more than control or power. Connection." She tapped her tablet, and a 3D model of the galaxy unfolded above her. The other proposals had used sleek designs, ancient technologies, and massive resource chains. Lena's looked different, rougher maybe, but alive. "We call it the living spine, a galaxy-wide neural mesh inspired by both Earth biology and quantum physics. It will not just carry messages, but learn patterns, predict needs, and adapt in real time. Not a machine with commands, but a system that listens." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. "The core," she continued, "will use asteroid matter already drifting in deep space, repurposed, not mined. Powered by solar kites and fusion cells grown in partnership with Earth's synthetic ecologies. Every link is independent, yet connected. If one fails, the others learn and adapt." One of the Veltar clicked their mandibles in disapproval. A Corinth whispered something into a translator node, then laughed. Lena paused, then walked closer to the edge of the platform. "I know we're not the oldest species here. We are not the richest or the most advanced, but we are one of the few who still believe in reaching beyond our limits, who dream beyond fear." She looked up at the Shuralith, the crystal species who had not spoken yet, and saw one blink with flickering interest. "I'm not just offering a system. I am offering a new way to build it. With allies, with openness, with trust. Our AIs won't be tools. They will be partners. Our construction won't drain entire worlds. It will lift forgotten ones. This will not be a chain of control. It will be a bridge." Another tap on her tablet. Dozens of small dots lit up. Earth colonies, moons with struggling populations, minor trade hubs, independent enclaves. Places overlooked by the big empires. These nodes will connect them all. Not just the core worlds, but the edges, the silent places, the lonely voices. There was a long pause. A soft murmur began, uncertain, mixed, but not hostile. The Saraxi delegation rose. Their leader, wrapped in coils of breathing armor, addressed the assembly in a flat tone. "The humans propose instability, unproven technology, sentient systems that may rebel. Emotion, not logic. They're children playing with stars." Lena didn't flinch. She turned toward them. "You fear we are reckless, that we might build something wild and alive, not under complete control. You're right." She looked around again. Her voice dropped slightly, but it reached every corner of the room. "We are reckless, but that's how we reach the stars. We are emotional, but that's how we learn to care. And yes, we are young, but that's why we still believe we can make something new." Then she smiled, not proudly but warmly. "Humanity is not perfect, but we try. And when we fail, we get up and try again. That's who we are. That's what we bring to this assembly." Silence followed. Lena stepped back. She gave a respectful bow and walked off the platform. For a moment, the chamber stayed quiet. Then, from the far side of the hall, a soft clacking sound echoed, tiny, rhythmic. One of the smaller species, the insectoid drillians, was clapping, a sound that hadn't been heard in that chamber for centuries. A few others joined. Not many, but enough to notice. Lena returned to her seat beside Raj. He stared at her. That might have actually worked. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "It wasn't about winning today," she said quietly. "It was about being heard." And for the first time, in the heart of a galaxy that had forgotten how to hope, someone listened. Backroom wars. The galaxy doesn't always make decisions in grand halls. Most of the real power plays happen behind sealed doors, in long shadowed corridors and quiet lounges where the rules of diplomacy gave way to silent threats and whispered deals. After the presentation, the Galaxy Assembly entered a 3-day deliberation phase. Delegates retreated into smaller negotiation chambers. Alliances formed and shifted like sand in a solar storm. While the official vote was still days away, it was clear to everyone. The game had begun, and humanity had stirred the waters. In a private corridor near the Earth delegation's quarters, Lena Cross stared at the glowing display in her palm. Notice, for Allied votes retracted. No reason stated. She tightened her jaw. That morning, Earth had been in talks with 8 minor species who had shown support after a pitch. But now had suddenly backed out. No messages. No warnings. Raj paced behind her. This smells like the Corinth. They're scared, Lena said quietly. Not of us. Of what we represent. She looked out the narrow window toward the star the station orbited. Its endless light reminded her of the sunrises back home. Quiet, persistent, unignorable. They're not just trying to beat our proposal, she said. They want to erase the idea of it. By evening, the pressure is clear. The Siraxi offered generous resource-sharing deals to smaller species, conditional on voting against Earth. The Veltar hinted at future security partnerships. The Corinth didn't bother with offers. They simply reminded everyone of their influence in trade and travel. And Earth? Earth had no empire, no fleets to offer, no ancient favors to call in, just a vision, and the stubbornness to fight for it. Late that night, a soft knock echoed in Earth's meeting room. Lena opened the door to find Ambassador Meru of the Marne, a tall aquatic being who wore a fluid suit filled with shimmering water. Her voice bubbled through a translator sphere. Your enemies have sharp claws, Meru said gently. But not all of us forget the sting of being silenced. Lena gave her a tired smile. You're still with us? We remember when the empires laughed at our people too. You reminded us that even small voices matter. Behind Meru, 2 more delegates approached, the insectoid Drelians and the avian Siren. Both had no strong ties to the great powers, and both had much to gain if Earth's inclusive system succeeded. One by one, old alliances weakened. New ones flickered to life. The room, once so quiet, began to glow with quiet hope. But not all shadows could be avoided. The next day, Earth's systems were attacked. Briefly, Lena's files on the living spine were erased. The backup translator began twisting her messages, making it seem like she was insulting her allies. Even her personal AI was corrupted. Its voice changed, its memory rewritten. Digital sabotage, Raj said, furious. They're playing dirty. Lena didn't answer right away. Instead, she stood by the window again, watching the stars. Then she turned to him with calm fire in her eyes. Let them. Every attack they make shows the Assembly what they truly fear, that their grip is loosening. That afternoon, Lena called for a closed-session dialogue. Not a formal vote, but a chance to speak freely. Many expected it to be a waste of time. Instead, it changed everything. No slides, no data streams. Just Lena, standing at the center of a room filled with delegates from over 50 species. I'm not here to argue against the old empires, she began. I'm here to tell you why we believe something else is possible. And then she spoke, not as a diplomat, but as a human. She told them about Earth's wars, its mistakes, its recoveries, the way humans fell again and again and still got back up. We don't always agree. We don't always get it right. But we listen. We adapt. We learn. And more than anything, we connect. Her voice grew soft. We built this proposal not to control the galaxy, but to share it. To build something that lifts the many, not just the few. No applause followed. Just silence. But it wasn't cold. It was thoughtful. Alive. And Lena knew. Some of them were starting to believe. Later that evening, an official message arrived. Notice, the Shuralith Consortium has cast a provisional vote in favor of Earth's proposal. Influence rating, high. Vote ripple effect, significant. Raj looked at Lena wide-eyed. We just pulled one of the neutrals. Lena finally allowed herself a smile. Then we're in the fight for real now. The stars outside remained unchanged. Silent. Distant. But in the heart of the Assembly, something had shifted. For the first time in generations, the future was not being shaped by power alone. It was being shaped by belief. The final vote. The Grand Assembly Hall felt different on the final day. It was still enormous. Miles of curved seating, floating data rings, and the steady hum of ancient machinery. But the air was tighter now. The whispers had quieted. The eyes that once watched humanity with amusement or doubt now stared with sharp attention. The vote was near. At the center, the vote orb hovered. A living device older than most civilizations. It pulsed gently with color, waiting to receive the decisions of over 700 species. The stakes were clear. The project to build the galaxy communication spine would reshape the future. It would determine not just who controlled communication, but who controlled connection, unity, influence, trust. And somehow, against every odd, humanity had made it to the final round. Ambassador Lena Cross stood quietly in Earth's delegation seat. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Every word she could offer had already been said. Raj sat beside her, tapping his foot nervously. "It still doesn't feel real," he whispered. "Even if we lose just being this close." Lena gave him a small smile. "That's how change begins, with a door left slightly open." The Siraxi spoke first. Their leader's voice boomed, emotionless and calculated. "We reject the human proposal. It is unstable, romantic, a threat to galactic order." Their followers nodded, locked in tradition and fear. Then came the Veltar, the Corinth, and several others. Old powers clinging to familiar systems. One after another, their votes dropped into the orb against Earth. Raj's face fell. "Too many." "Watch," Lena said softly. "It's not over." Because something strange began to happen. The minor species, those long silenced, long ignored, began casting votes too. The Drillians voted for. The aquatic Marn followed. Then the Tsiran, the Namari, the crystal Shuralith, and more. Species that had never before aligned now stood together. Not out of strategy, but out of shared belief. Out of a deep, old hope that maybe this time someone would build a future with them instead of over them. The orb shifted in color. The tides were turning. A silence fell again as the Zurari collective, a powerful but neutral species, stepped forward. They had abstained from nearly every vote for the past 2 centuries. Now, their twin minds whispered in perfect harmony. "We choose Earth." A sharp intake of breath echoed across the chamber. The orb pulsed gold. The final tally approached. One by one, the last votes fell. It came down to a single voice. The Orlin, a rare, energy-based species, ancient and cautious, had not yet voted. Their shimmering form drifted to the center. They did not speak in words, but in light, waves of emotion and intent that the vote orb translated into sound. "We have watched. We have felt the shape of what you offer. And though it may be flawed, it is alive. We vote for Earth." A chime rang through the hall. The orb flared bright white, then blue. The Earth delegation is awarded leadership of the Galactic Communication Spine Project. The chamber froze. For a second, there was no sound at all. Then it broke. Some cheered, loud, wild, emotional. Species that had never been allowed to hope now let that hope erupt like a solar flare. Others sat in stunned silence. And a few, like the Siraxi in Corinth, stood and walked out without a word, pride cracked but unbowed. Lena didn't move. Not at first. Raj grabbed her shoulder. "We won. Lena, we won." She blinked just once, then stood. Slowly, she walked down to the center stage, now flooded with soft light. She looked out across the chamber, not just at the leaders, but the watchers behind them. The assistants, the translators, the messengers, the future. "We are honored," she began, "but this project doesn't belong to Earth. It belongs to all who dare believe that the galaxy can be more than fear and control. We will build a system that listens to everyone, and we will do it with your help. Not to lead alone, but to walk forward together." She paused, letting her voice soften. This wasn't just a vote. It was a turning point, and we promise we won't waste it. Later that night, Lena stood alone on a balcony high above the assembly. Below, the station's lights glowed like stars. She heard footsteps behind her. "Raj, you okay?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "I'm thinking about the first signal that goes out on the new network." "What do you want it to say?" She smiled, a little sadly, a little proudly. "Just one word. Hello. In the dark vastness of space, a new kind of signal would soon rise. Not from power, not from fear, but from something far more dangerous and far more beautiful. Hope.